Sufism, often referred to as Islamic mysticism, is the inner, esoteric, or spiritual dimension of Islam. It focuses on the purification of the heart and the soul to attain a direct, intimate, and personal experience of the divine. Think of it this way: if Islamic law, Sharia, is the body of Islam, defining the rules, rituals, and outward actions, then Sufism, Tariqa, meaning the path, is its heart, concerned with the inner intention, the spiritual state, and the love of God. Here's a comprehensive overview of Sufism in Islam. Core objectives and beliefs. The ultimate goal of Sufism is to achieve ihsan, spiritual excellence, which the Prophet Muhammad defined in a famous hadith as, to worship Allah as if you see him, for if you don't see him, he surely sees you. To achieve this, Sufism emphasizes taskiyat al-nafs, purification of the self. The central struggle is against the ego's base desires, like greed, envy, and pride. This internal struggle is called the greater jihad. Divine love, ishq-i-hakiki. Sufism teaches that the highest form of worship is not just out of fear of hell or desire for paradise, but out of pure, unconditional love for God. Dhikr, remembrance of God, the constant and heartfelt remembrance of Allah through repetitive phrases, prayers, or meditative practices. This is to make God consciousness a permanent state of the heart. Tawakkul, absolute trust in God, cultivating a state of complete reliance on God, while still fulfilling one's worldly responsibilities. Key practices and institutions. The Sheikh, Murshid, Pir, a spiritual guide or master who has advanced on the path and can guide disciples, Murids. The relationship between Sheikh and disciple is fundamental. The Tariqa, Sufi order, a spiritual path or school, led by a Sheikh, with its own specific methods for dhikr and spiritual training. Examples include the Qadiri, Naqshbandi, Chishti, and Mevlevi, the whirling dervishes, orders. Sama, spiritual listening, a session of devotional music, poetry, and sometimes dance, like the famous whirling of the Mevlevi order, intended to induce a state of spiritual ecstasy and love for God. Khanqa, Durga, Sufi lodge, a center where Sufis live, pray, and learn together under the guidance of a sheikh. Historical development and key figures. Early asceticism, 7th–8th centuries, began as a movement of personal piety and asceticism in reaction to the worldly wealth and power of the later Umayyad Caliphate. Early figures like Hassan al-Basri emphasized fear of God and detachment from the world. Classical period, 9th–12th centuries, the development of systematic Sufi doctrine. Al-Ghazali, 1058–1111, a towering intellectual figure who reconciled Sufism with mainstream Sunni orthodoxy. His work Ihya Ulum al-Din, the revival of the religious sciences, showed that Sufism, when based on the Quran and Sunnah, was the key to genuine faith. Mansur al-Hallaj, 858–922, a controversial mystic famously executed for his ecstatic statement, "An al-Haq, I am the truth, the real," which orthodoxy interpreted as claiming divinity, but Sufis see as an expression of mystical union where the self is annihilated. The poetic tradition, 12th–13th centuries, Sufism spread powerfully through poetry. Jalaluddin Rumi, 1207–1273, perhaps the most famous Sufi poet. His Masnavi is often called the Quran in Persian. His poetry explores divine love as the core of existence. Ibn Arabi, 1165–1240, a highly influential but controversial philosopher mystic who developed the concept of Wadat al-Wujud, the oneness of being, a complex panentheistic view of reality. Relationship with Orthodox Islam, tension and integration. Sufism has a complex relationship with the wider Islamic community. Mainstream acceptance. For centuries, Sufism was an integral part of Islamic civilization and was embraced by the majority of Muslims. It was the primary vehicle for the spread of Islam in Africa and South and Southeast Asia. Criticism and opposition. Sufism has been criticized, particularly by Salafi and Wahhabi movements, for several reasons. Innovation, bid'ah, introducing practices not found in the early Muslim community, such as elaborate dhikr ceremonies, music, and visiting the tombs of saints. Saint veneration, the role of the sheikh and the practice of seeking blessings from saints, Awliya, is seen by critics as compromising the Islamic principle of Tawheed, oneness of God, by setting up intermediaries. Unorthodox beliefs. Philosophical ideas like Ibn Arabi's Wadat al-Wujud are considered heretical by some. Sufism is not a sect, like Sunni or Shia, it is a spiritual path that exists within both. Its goal is a direct, loving experience of God through purifying the heart. Its methods include a guide, shaykh, a path, tariqah, and remembrance, dhikr. It has been a massive cultural and missionary force in Islamic history. It exists on a spectrum, from devotional practices accepted by the mainstream to philosophical and ecstatic expressions that have sparked controversy. In essence, Sufism represents the quest for the heart of Islam, moving beyond mere legal compliance to a state of inner transformation and divine love.